11th of October. Here's the Boerbeskuit news. We start in the EU. Times Algebra tweeted, big breaking news. Giorgia Meloni government expels Pakistan Imam Zulfikar Khan from Italy for promoting Islamic terrorism. Tough decision by Giorgia Meloni. Radical Zulfikar will now have to return to his own country, Pakistan. Living in Italy, Zulfikar Khan was abusing and threatening Italians, Americans, Germans, French people for supporting Israel. Well, good for her, but I have a feeling it's a case of too little, too late. And then we get this from Iran. Iran's secret warning to the US allies: don't help Israel or you're next. The threats through diplomatic channels have prompted Arab states to tell the US that they won't aid any attack on Iran. Iran has threatened to strike US allies in the Middle East if their territory or airspace is used to attack the Islamic Republic, the Wall Street Journal reported. According to the publication, Iranian authorities issued the warning through secret diplomatic channels. The threats forced Arab countries to tell Washington that they would not participate in military action against Iran. Well, how about time that the Middle East takes the responsibility for their own countries and for their own future and stop following orders from Washington. And then we have this, Germ Warfare tweeted, Israel has never defined its borders because it wants it to expand into neighboring territories. Evangelical Christians refuse to understand this and think this is all biblical. It isn't. And he had a video connected to that tweet of his where this Jew boy sits there and explains in no uncertain terms how they are going to take all the countries around them because it is theirs. It's rightfully theirs. And then we get this from the Russian representative at the UN. The US continues to block any attempts by UN Security Council members to make decisions that would allow for a ceasefire in Gaza, says Vasily Nebenzia. The permanent representative of Russia to the UN also stated, Israel views civilian casualties as collateral damage in the spirit of when the forest is cut down, the chips fly. And we know that's what they are doing. And I have listened to a lot of commentators in the past few days, and they are all of the opinion that the US specifically is financing the Zionists to commit all those atrocities against women and children specifically. And then we get this from the Ukraine. Now listen to this. Every Russian is an enemy. The Rada demands to ban the Russian language even in private communication. During a plenary session of the Ukrainian parliament, MP Natalia Pipa stated that the use of the Russian language even in private communication should be considered treason in Ukraine. Each of us here loves Ukraine more or less, each of us, except of course the collaborators. And on February 24, everyone in Ukraine understood that Russia is an enemy. Before that, for 400 years, some had doubts whether Russia was an enemy or not. Finally, they understood it. When I hear Russian spoken in the corridors here or abroad, I have a question. What country do you represent? Who is speaking at that moment? A friend or an enemy? A sabotage group or a collaborator? In her opinion, the Russian-speaking population of Ukraine should become the enemy. And that is exactly what they fucking tried after 2014. And that is why they bombed the Russians in Donbass. And that is what led to where we are today. But these are the types of idiots that are sitting there in the Rada, and they are orchestrating the wipeout of the Ukrainian young men. And you must ask yourself why the hell they're doing it. They're doing it on instruction from XXX. because they want the Ukrainian women to be available for the fucking immigrants that they are going to push into that country. That, if you live here in South Africa and you're a supporter of Zelensky, you better think about it, because you are supporting evil shit. And then we get to South Africa. Sir Kabonena Alfred tweeted, Africa will never look better than it was under the whites. Whites are builders and inventors, while black Africans are destroyers and complainers. Just look at Johannesburg, Harare, Lagos and Brazzaville. We black people, we are destroyers and not builders. And you can just imagine the responses that was there on this tweet of his. But he is 100% correct. But it burns holes through their souls that a black guy tweets something like this. And then we get this tweet from Levi. An African country that was never colonized, Ethiopia. An European country that never colonized, Switzerland. A representation of how it would have been if Europeans never came to Africa. Colonization sure did damage, but it also not the reason for Africa is backwards as a whole. And then there's two images, one of Switzerland and one of Ethiopia. And then we get to this tweet, again from Sir Kabonena Alfred. Racist economy. Fikile Mbalula's wife got a 76 million rand tender. Ace Magashula's son got a 2.7 million rand tender, each, his sons. Nomvula Mankonyane's daughter, 23, got a 3 million rand tender. Kuselo Diku and husband got a 123 million rand tender. Cyril Ramaphosa's son got a 6 million rand tender. And that is how it works. But you can imagine again how those keyboard warriors attacked Kabonena about this tweet of his. And then we get this one. Black child tweeted, you are an idiot and a hypocrite. Black South Africans still white slaves. There is no freedom without economic power. My brother, don't be stupid. We own nothing in our land. We don't even have food to eat. And then Pulani Majosi answers her. You don't have economic power? Start a business. Find a job. Educate and upskill yourself. Hold your leaders to account. You are free to do all of that. You black child who support corrupt Zuma. Well, is he wrong or is he right? But you could just try and imagine the responses in that tweet. And then we get to this from Wanyuru Nyoya. This is in connection with what is happening now in Zimbabwe, where they're beginning to slaughter the animals in the game reserves. Jolene van Sale McDonald tweeted and replied to a tweet. The thing is that the habitats lose all the game. Every single animal gets eaten until nothing is left. Birds, tortoises, anything and everything. And Wanyura replied to that. They're eating the elephants, the birds, the tortoises, anything and everything that lives there. All because they got rid of their farmers and then realized farming is not as easy as they thought. Farming is incredible hard work and they're not up for that. And that is what we have. And here in South Africa, the people do not see it, especially these black keyboard warriors and the EFF and their supporters. They don't understand that Triple X has got an evil plan for all of us. And it is us, the whites, that are fighting with the blacks. They are too stupid to realize what is being done to them. And Moses 6 verse 6 comes to mind. Stupid people must suffer. And they are suffering. But they cannot see that they are the architects of their own suffering. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.